Well, good afternoon, College of Eastern Idaho, and I hope we have a number of visitors from our community on as well, considering this is both Facebook and YouTube. It is April 30th, Friday. We have 1 week to go, test week next week, and we will have successfully completed our spring semester. And today is a real treat for me to have Hailey Mack. And Hailey is our Associate Dean for Enrollment Management. And that's something we have talked about kind of from the beginning, is to get far enough along in the college to be able to really narrow down into particular areas. And of course, enrollment is just an absolutely essential component for our college. So Hailey, welcome. It is good to have you today.
Thanks, Rick.
As we kind of prepared to start, this is not your first startup college, is it?
No, we had the pleasure of working together when I was at CWI. I wasn't there at the very beginning like you were, but I was there just a little bit into it when everything was just getting going, and when it was the recession and enrollment was skyrocketing, and it was exciting times over at CWI.
It was. So again, I think that's kind of interesting. There many people in community college, for example, never are in part of a startup college. Those are things that were pretty big in the 60s and 70s and those kind of things. But you and I have been in 2 startups together, which is just really fascinating.
Lucky us.
Lucky us. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We have not had a dull existence for over 11 years.
No, definitely not. It's always exciting, right? Startup, that's the great thing about startup. It's very exciting.
No 2 days are the same. So there may be 1 or 2 people who don't know you. So what I like to do with our guests is give our guests a little bit of a chance to introduce themselves and a little bit of your background. So Hailey, why don't you go ahead and do that for us?
Yeah, so I did start my higher education career after I graduated from Boise State with my bachelor's. I was a one-stop specialist over at CWI during their I like to say their enrollment when it went like this. So that was really fun and exciting, and I learned so much about higher education. It's a great stepping stone. And then we moved to this side of the state. So I actually worked at Idaho State University as in their academic advising office, and then in their College of Technology as an academic advisor as well. Before getting my job here at iTech at the time.
Right.
I started in the human resource office, but I did not last long there, as I learned human resources is not for me. And I came over to the student affairs side again, which is where I love the most. I was the career placement and recruitment coordinator, student life coordinator over student life as well, and recently have taken this job as interim associate dean of enrollment management.
So one of the things that is absolutely essential to us, and the trustees have talked to us about that, would be to attract new students into the college. And there's a whole variety of demographics of students. So talk a little bit about how you see us engaging engaging our public, let's just say that, and engaging them, and then demonstrating that the college is a good fit for them. So what are some things that you do, and how do you think about your job in recruiting?
Well, recruiting, I love recruiting. It's definitely will always be near and dear to my heart. When I was strictly in recruiting, there were days where I was recruiting 6th graders and talking to them about the different kinds of careers that we had, especially when we were iTech and our CTE programs. So I remember a particular week where I was with 6th graders one day, I was at a high school the next day working with seniors, and then that evening I was honestly at the courthouse in the Wood Pilot program helping people who adults go into college. So the great thing about a community college is it really, your age, it doesn't matter. And
right.
When we're recruiting, we do recruit at the high schools, but we also go other places and recruit because everybody can use the education to help better themselves in their careers.
So what do you think our value proposition would be? We're getting ready to have a pretty significant push toward our graduating high school students. So what's the value proposition for them? What do you tell them that why would they go to us and not to a university, or even worse, if there is a worse, go out of state?
Yeah, well, I actually started at a community college. I started at CSI as a student, and I did go out of state, but I did start at CSI.
Right.
We talk a lot about cost, and the cost of the community college is important. There's a lot of people that select a community college based off cost. But the reality is there's so much more to community college than just cost. Really, what I think people find when they become students here is that, it's more about the smaller class sizes and the amount of help and resources that are available to help you prepare. We like to use this analogy, and I borrow it from a coworker of mine. So it is not my analogy, but I love to use it, is when you're at a high school, whether your high school is big or small, you're swimming in your own little pond, and everybody, your teachers. A lot of our students here we've seen have been growing up here, so they've been with some of the same students since kindergarten. And then and thinking of going to university really seems to people like jumping into the ocean from your pond. And I always like to say, but reality is there's sharks in the ocean, and maybe you're not ready to swim with the sharks. So we're like the lake in between. We're here to help you get from your pond a little bigger. Maybe you swim with some larger sturgeons or something like that, some bigger fish. And then we help you transition to that ocean. For some people, that's university. And for some people, that's employment. But the idea is that we're the in-between to help people. So it is really we're not just here because we're lower cost. We're here because of the services we provide and the assistance we provide to prepare you for your next step. Because that next step can be really scary for a lot of people. And it was for me, which is why I went to a community college.
So here's one of the things that we've talked about early on, and I think you do very well at it. But when you're in with a high school, obviously you would aim students toward CEI. But on the other hand, I know that you really encourage them to go on, and that's actually the right answer. So whether you go on to a university, and we're being a little facetious with out of state, but the real key for these students is to go on beyond that high school degree, because that isn't good enough. We would love to have them come here, but more importantly, we want them to have a post-secondary experience. So how do you engage a student with that kind of a discussion that high school isn't good enough?
I really like to talk to the students about what their end goal is.
Right.
And really focusing on that. And luckily, most of the time, I have always had students in the group that maybe want to do massage therapy or cosmetology or be a plumber. And so I like to focus on those because if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher, you need higher education. But sometimes we don't think about some of the other jobs and the advanced education that's needed beyond high school. We know that we have a plumber apprenticeship program. And sometimes it's not always thought of that's, going on for higher education, but in reality it is. And, cosmetology, you have to have a license. So I like to kind of point out some of those jobs that people don't, you have to have a license to do, but you don't even think about it as a higher education purposes. And then I kind of like to talk to them, we don't have a cosmetology program. We don't have a massage therapy program, but, if we were going to bring a program on, I would vote massage therapy, because then I could get a massage on my lunch hour, and I'd really appreciate that. So, Rick. But
thank you.
I like to point those students to maybe some other colleges that would be good because they don't know where they want to go at all. And you're right. Our main focus is getting them onto higher education and go beyond high school in some way, somehow. And that's really what we focus on. And I really have always appreciated that you've allowed me to do that, because I really feel like it helps build that trust with the students. And then the other students that should be coming, that can come to us and should be coming to us, know that we're here for them as well, because that's what we really are, is we're here for their success.
One of the things that we talked about, I haven't brought it up recently, and I need to bring it up again, but it's this idea of friction. And you remember as we were starting up as a community college, we did a lot of work with paper and all of that. So
yeah,
you think about Amazon, and Amazon is almost frictionless. You end up buying stuff by mistake sometimes, but talk a little bit about what you're doing with strategic enrollment management to soften the friction to get students enrolled in a class.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that we've talked a lot about with departments, early college, admissions, advising, and financial aid even, is, sometimes higher education institutions put up barriers, and they're sometimes unintentional and sometimes they're intentional. Sometimes they have to be done, like with financial aid, we do have to have the application, the federal student aid application. We don't get that choice. But we are trying to remove as many barriers as we can as CEI to help those students. Because we've seen from time and time again, no matter how old a student is, sometimes for them to just walk through the front door is all the courage that they really have. Right. And so what we want to do is really focus on where can we be more helpful to help encourage them to go beyond that next step. They walked through the front door, they called us, they asked the questions, they were scared, and we understand that. And then how can we help them move on to the next steps and make it as seamless as we possibly can, understanding the rules and regulations we still have to follow. So, and COVID, yeah, I know you make fun of me for this, Rick, but silver lining of COVID is we really had to go virtually and electronically because we just didn't have a choice. So it really pushed us to do that, and it's been great. And we're still working forward to make the process from application to enrolled student, registered student, all done virtually without them having to come in or call if they don't want to. We're, of course, always here if they want us to be here. We'll be happy to help in any way, but we don't want to force them to. If they want to do it on their own, then we want to encourage them to do that.
One of the things that I didn't maybe have you prep for, but you might know this, would be that conversion rate. So kind of that conversion from the first touch, whatever that might be from us, into enrollment. So how do you think about that conversion cycle?
Yeah, well, we actually have a new software program that I was lucky enough to work with the implementation during COVID. And that has helped us start focusing on that conversion cycle that we really were actually able to focus on before. So no, I haven't looked up the numbers exactly from the first touch to enrollment. I was looking up the numbers recently for another meeting we were in.
Right.
And I am able to say that I can say that 50% of all applications that we get into our system right now that are started or submitted, we get 50% of those people admitted. The number, of course, goes up a lot higher if the application is completed. And then from there, we get 65% of the students that we admit enrolled in classes, which is an awesome number. And we just want to see that continue to go up. So of our accepted students, we get those enrolled in classes and get going for that next semester.
So that's one of the things Vice President Barber was bragging about with our trustees. And it's important to brag about that because I think early on we had no idea of conversion rates, from application to enrollment. But unless we can track these things, we can't improve them. And I really appreciate you're using the systems that we've gotten in place through Colleague to be able to do that. And we'll get better and better at it. But I don't know that a lot of institutions can get a 50 or 55% conversion rate from application, into enrollment. That is a pretty amazing feat.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to see that. What I love is that we can use this conversion rate, and we don't have a conversion rates for fall right now as we're admitting for fall, enrolling for fall. So it's definitely a great goal for us to work on between our admissions and our advising teams to hit. This is where we need to be, because that 65% is an average between the last two semesters, between fall and spring.
Yeah, and that's quite high. Mm-hmm. Remind me at a state level what that how that application process works for high school seniors?
Apply Idaho.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, how does that work?
Yeah, so the 65% I should mention does not include Apply Idaho, so we might see it dip a little bit with Apply Idaho.
Right.
But the state has instituted Apply Idaho, which is a common application. I believe it's 12 institutions that now participate in it. It might be, no, maybe it's 10, sorry. But it is one application, and a high school student has the ability to apply and get accepted to 10 of the institutions in Idaho. That includes our 8 public institutions, so the 4 years and the 4 2 years, as well as College of Idaho and NNU.
Good.
And so it's one application. It makes it quite simple. It's really only about 4 or 5 screens that they have to fill out, and we get. And you know, there's about 20,000 high school seniors that graduate every single year in the state of Idaho. So we see quite a few of those applications come over our way.
So some universities, I don't think all of them, I'm not sure about ISU, you might know, but there are GPA requirements, some level of I think SATs are going away. Maybe you could talk for a moment about that. But some universities have requirements that a graduating senior couldn't meet. But for us, community colleges, we're open enrollment. So we are there to help them get started and then move on into a university if they wish.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I should have mentioned, prior to the Apply Idaho application opening, the state board sends a letter out to each of the seniors, letting them know which of the institutions, based on their current GPA and their previous test scores, that they would get accepted into right away. But you're right, the 2-year colleges, we accept everybody, no matter what your GPA is. A lot of the schools are going test blind. That's what we're kind of seeing, another silver lining to COVID. That we're seeing this across the nation, going test blind and not requiring test scores to be accepted. But, you know, it kind of just moves them back because they're still somewhat needed during the registration period for placement for your math and English classes. But it can get somebody in and get their feet wet and get them a little bit more comfortable with college before maybe they jump into a math or English class.
So just about all of us would know a graduating senior. So go ahead and tell us what we should do to entice that graduating senior. So what do you want us as a college staff to do to entice students to go on?
To be honest, I think the best thing to do is to be kind. You know, graduating seniors, high school students in general, have quite a bit of experience with them, and they seem like they have this hard outer shell. And luckily, I actually had a senior that came here, went to our automotive program, and seemed like they have this hard outer shell, and they think, you know, the seniors think that they have everything taken care of and they know what they're doing. But the reality is they don't, and they are still nervous underneath that hard shell that they're portraying. So to be kind and be encouraging. And let them know that, yes, you do need to go on to something. You do need to do something, and it's okay to be excited. And just because, I always like to say, just because it's new and it's different than what you've done the last 12 years doesn't mean it's bad. Just because this is different doesn't mean it's bad. It is good and it's exciting. And I encourage them to come to campus and take a tour and see what it's like. And I really think that really helps those unnerving feelings that they have to see what campus is like. So first step, get them to campus. Let us put them in on a class, let them try out a class and see what it's like. And I think they'll feel a lot more comfortable about their next step.
You know, we're talking about high school seniors, and of course that is a realm that iTech really couldn't delve into very easily because a lot of our gen eds wouldn't apply, and we couldn't do that. So we're seeing a significant opportunity for those graduating seniors to come to us. But talk for a little bit about what the pitch would be to non-traditional students that have been out of high school for a couple of years, and you've got to treat them a little bit differently when you're trying to invite them to the college. How do you handle that group?
You know, don't really actually treat them differently. I just talk about something a little bit different. The same thing is, is to be kind and get them on the campus to help them feel comfortable. The great thing of non-traditional students, we like to show them our resources. So non-traditional students usually have, some other complexities to their lives, whether they're parents. So, the question always comes up, what do I do about childcare? Well, the great thing is we have the Center for New Directions who has a childcare grant to help them. What do I do about, other factors and other things that I have going on in my life, and how do I work my classes around my job and everything like that? So we need to get them here. That's the best thing to do. We can do everything virtually, but we really do find that face-to-face is what everybody really likes, and it helps their comfort level. So just get them through the door, sometimes walking them in and introducing them. That's something I like to do. So it helps, to know that they're a person, they're not a number here.
Right.
And we really are a champion for their success.
So COVID has made this 3 times harder than it used to be. Yeah. I've seen a few buses out there from high schools, and I know that your team do walk students around the campus a bit. So maybe 2 things. What are we doing for the seniors, and what do you think the coolest thing as you walk potential students around the campus? What do they want to see, and what's intriguing to them?
What they want to see is inside the classrooms.
Yeah.
That's actually, I can't say that there's one single spot that interests every student, because every student's interested. But what I love that we're able to do, and that our faculty have always allowed me to do, is to come inside those classrooms and show inside the classrooms and what it looks like, and how it pretty much looks just like what they're doing now, except for we do have some cooler stuff. I've always loved our labs between the auto and the welding. I mean, that's awesome. The nursing labs, the machine tool lab, even dental assisting, energy systems, those really do catch their attention. But even our students looking at general education classes, they love going inside and seeing and sitting in a classroom. I'll take them in an empty classroom, let them sit there and let them feel this is what it's going to feel like. Let's go in our biology lab and see this is what the biology lab looks like. And that's what they love. They love that interaction. And they love interacting with our students, our current students, and our faculty. That's something that's great. And they actually really love when they get to talk to you, Rick. I know sometimes I put you on the spot, but
you do. But that's okay. That I should welcome them, and I do. It's wonderful when you're giving tours.
Yeah, I think what they realize is, wow, how available everybody is to help them. So even when the president or the vice presidents come out and talk to them, the deans, they're always really excited because wow, I am somebody, and I'm somebody important that they want to talk to.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing that we kind of got forced into, and that would be COVID and online, and not having that face-to-face impact. Mm-hmm. And this kind of falls under that umbrella of a virtual campus, but you've been pretty aggressive in techniques that would introduce the college to students virtually. So talk a little bit about those techniques and how you're handling that.
We luckily with some new software that's been really helpful. It really helps increase our communication to students, to our prospective students and our students. But I still think that you still have to kind of take what did students like when they came here and what did they like to see. And so I really like to show them, we have quite a few, luckily we created quite a few videos and things using a local agency to create those videos to show the insides of the classrooms and to show what they're still going to experience even when they do get to come on the campus somehow, some way. So we really have seen a great interest in those videos. So it was really exciting. And we really just tried to reach out and communicate with them. Honestly, over the phone is something that happened quite a bit. And making those phone calls and trying to keep that personal connection, even though we can't be face-to-face.
So student life is a component that you have put a lot of effort into, and I think it's a sweet spot for you. And we don't have the swimming pools and basketball courts and
give me time.
Yeah, I know. That's right. So the rodeo team is coming. I know. The water slide, all of those kind of things. So, given where we are right now, what's the low hanging fruit for student engagement, student life? What do you like to do, and what should we be doing?
We don't have those facilities. We don't have a really awesome rec center that I would love to see, and I'm sure we'll get someday. After a future tax bill, right? Mm-hmm. Next building, or a bowling alley. What I enjoyed doing with student life is engaging in the community. We don't have those facilities, but that doesn't mean our community doesn't have those facilities. So something that we did, I feel like it was about a year and a half ago, was starting engaging in our community and working with our community partners. So, we did our movie nights once a month.
Right.
We do something to kind of gear more towards the students who are a little bit more artistic over at Possibly Picasso. And so you talk about low-hanging fruit. I think for me, low-hanging fruit is working with our community partners, encouraging them and working with them, but giving our students an opportunity to still get that feel that they would get at those larger universities, to be honest, that have those facilities, but sending them out to community to do that. The other thing that's great about that kind of stuff is it helps for any student. So we kind of talked about traditional and non-traditional. We always try to, with student life, encourage that these events were for all ages. So all ages of students, but also the students' family members, to know that, the students aren't the only ones that are sacrificing, especially in the non-traditional realm, that are making the sacrifices when somebody goes back to school. And so sometimes if it gives an opportunity for a single parent to take their kids to the movies because it's free and, they can afford it, then we were really happy to do that and encourage them, the students, to bring their families, bring their children, or, we always try to keep it to immediate families because we do have to pay the bill. But, and it also encourages those students and shows those students' family members what college can be like and how there is fun to it as well, besides all that studying and test taking they have to do.
So, boy, I don't know how long it's been, at least a year. I know coming on campus a couple of Saturdays, probably a year ago, when we had Esports, and there would be a lot of enthusiasm for that. So talk a little bit about Esports, perhaps, and maybe even disc golf. So those kind of things that would engage a student in our campus.
Yeah, the great thing about esports and disc golf is, we already kind of talked about it. We don't have the facilities or the basketball court. So in order for us to have a basketball team isn't really feasible, especially, financially, besides the other costs, beyond the building size that we need and so forth. So the great thing is the disc golf course we were able to build. We did that a couple summers ago, myself and Justin Esplin, and built that around campus. And it was able to utilize our current campus and build it around the campus. And we see that being used, it seems like every single day, sometimes even in the winter. Yeah. Disc golfers are very dedicated people, I've learned. But it really, gives a fun way for students to go blow off some steam in between classes if they want to. It's not a really long course. It can be done in about an hour. So we do see students out there, we see faculty out there and staff out there, but then we see a lot of community members out there. So another great way to be a part of the community, right? We're a community college. So we're supposed to be an integral part of the community is how I see it. And that is a way for us to provide. Esports is something, I guess, I'm a big sports fan in general. So esports is probably our way into some kind of competitive sports, right? It's a lower cost, but honestly, it's the way that things are going. Thunder Ridge also has an esports team. So it's a great way to interact with them, but also help students realize, we all know technology is important and we use these computers even more now than we have ever done before, but the infrastructure of it, and it helps get younger students interested in these technology programs and careers that we are going to need so much more in the future, especially since COVID happened, right? We saw what infrastructure is needed. And I think I was on a meeting with Linda Montgomery, and she said something about how the INL had to give 700 laptops to their employees. And what kind of infrastructure is needed to support 700 laptops? So these are careers that we're going to need even more in the future, this showed us that. So it's a good way to encourage all types of students into these new careers. And it's fun, right? Competition and playing video games is fun.
It is. Now, I don't know how much you know about the connection with BSU, but of course they've got an esports program there, much less competition. And do you know enough about BSU to comment?
I know it was started by a couple of their faculty members, which I find that very intriguing. I love that idea. I know that they are building a new arena, from what I hear, that is supposed to be very nice, which does not surprise me at all, especially being a BSU grad myself. They
Sure.
really are good at building very nice buildings. They have a very nice campus. But I know that they're working on competing with, within the region. The great thing about esports is you can compete with anybody across the country because it's all virtual, and it will always be virtual. But you can still have the arena and have spectators. I know I told you about this, and here's where my little sports nerd comes out. But the Staples Center over in Los Angeles, where the Los Angeles Lakers and the Clippers play, they filled that for an esports competition.
Regular people would not know how embedded esports is becoming. And at a level, I think COVID would expand it faster than you would imagine. But there is a pretty solid following there for esports.
It actually shows on ESPN2. It hasn't made it to ESPN yet, but ESPN2, I've seen it on there.
Yeah, no, it is. That's really interesting. You probably, I don't know if this is accidental or on purpose, brought up laptops. And I don't know. I don't think you're devious enough to have brought this up.
No, not at all.
But one of the things that we're talking about with COVID money is maybe giving a student a laptop to borrow. Kind of lend a laptop as partially a recruiting tool. But I think we're a campus that depends on. I think we're a digital campus, a campus that appreciates innovation in IT. This is an example of a Dell Chromebook. We probably would be looking at actually a Dell laptop. Chromebooks have a little bit of, there are some issues with them, but these are quite substantial and are probably an interesting thing for you to recruit with. So
honestly, if you think about it, we talked earlier about removing barriers, right?
Right.
So laptops and access to technology is really a barrier that we see for students getting into higher education, into any education. And I think the schools really saw that when COVID hit, that not everybody has access to a computer at home. And what do? Right? We even had some students that didn't have access to internet. And what do? So I really like the idea of, seeing about using these COVID funds that we have. And it really does support our students, whether it's our new students or our current students, because we need to remove as many barriers for them as possible to be successful in their education and help them succeed. So, I really love the idea all the way around. It helps us keep our students here, that maybe, that's one less worry they have to think about.
We don't have enough funds to give every student a laptop. So talk a little bit about how do you think we would distribute those? What kind of student do you think we'd want to lend a laptop to? And what do you think about the idea, if there's a completer, that we just give them the laptop at the end of their 2 years or whatever that cycle might be?
I mean, I love that we, if you complete, that we give you the laptop, that you get to keep it, right? Because that doesn't mean, just because they complete with us doesn't mean their education's done or their need for access to technology is done. And it's a benefit to those who do complete and graduate with us. That's what we're trying for. That's kind of where higher education gets a bad rap, right? Is years ago, we had a lot of people that went in and started degrees and got into student loan debt and didn't complete. And so it really makes it difficult for them to pay back any loans that they get because they didn't complete anything. So completion really for us is our goal. And so I feel like I'm always a positive reinforcement kind of person. So I feel like it's a positive reinforcement. As far as we wouldn't be able to give it to everybody, so who would we focus on? I think we have to focus on our full-time students first, right? They're the ones who are taking the most classes, who theoretically would have the most need, in a sense, because of the number of classes they have.
Right.
And maybe not even every full-time student would need them, because maybe you have your own and yours is nicer than our one that we're able to provide you. But we could kind of look from there. We could look at needs-based, but to be honest, not everybody that has the need falls into the needs-based group, I would say. So I think it's something that we want to be really careful on and kind of look at a lot of different factors maybe. And maybe, find a way that a student can appeal a decision if maybe they can show a need beyond our factors.
Yeah, no, I think we always would do that. What's our definition of a full-time load?
Our definition currently for the college itself is 12 credits. So that's usually around 4 classes. So I think 12 credits is a good number. I know some other places look at 15 credits, but I think 12 is good. Not everybody's able to take 15.
Yeah, so that might be a good place to start. In rough numbers, we probably have 800 computers that we could afford, something like that, 600, 800. So setting that floor at 12 credits probably is reasonable. And if we have more computers than we have takers, we can drop it to 9. So I think there's a variety of ways to entice students. So it would entice students to attend. It would tell them they're important, and they're important enough that we would lend them a computer. And if they complete, and we really want completers, then it'd be a 2-year laptop at that point, and it really wouldn't hurt to just give it to that student, kind of as a recognition of completion. It does a lot of really good things.
It really does. And, a completer really helps everybody, right? It helps the student and the college. That's our goal, is completion.
It really is. Maybe quickly talk for a moment about clubs. How do student clubs work, and why do we even do clubs? What's the point of that? And include student senate in that if you weren't. But talk about those. I love the CEI transition. So during the transition, I was over student life and over student senate, and it was able to really grow and expand from ITech to CEI. So here, a perfect example is clubs. When we were ITech, we really only had clubs that were employment focused. I mean, that's what our programs were. They were very employment focused. So we had our automotive and our nursing and our medical assistant clubs. And, we had business as well. Trying to think of the ones that were really web development. Those are the ones that were really, up and going and very active. And then we became CEI, and we introduced general education students who aren't as employment focused right away, right? They're more interest focused. So now we have, the fly fishing club and the D&D club and the Pride club, science club. And I love seeing all their interests. The students start the clubs for the most part. I mean, I've had a couple faculty members. We have the Armed Forces Club as well, right? Yeah. But what clubs really are is just another form of support, another form of welcoming students into our Falcon family, as we like to call it, helping them feel comfortable and helping them find people who are like them, some way, somehow, have the same interests, have the same hobbies, lifestyles, whatever the case is. Student Senate is overall the club. So Student Senate helps fund the clubs, encourage the clubs, and kind of makes the rules for the clubs to follow. Student Senate is a great opportunity, and we've been able to expand that as well. They just did elections, or actually I think elections are open right now for officers and Senate positions, and we've been given the great opportunity to give them tuition reductions Mhm.
So a student can participate, serve their campus community and get a reduction on their tuition. But Student Senate has a lot of fun and then gets to meet with a lot of different people. I've taken several senators up to the legislature at the Capitol building. We've met with you. We met with some other individuals and so forth. So Senate is a really great opportunity for a student to grow their leadership skills and pay for their education as well. So I actually was a student senator. I think that's why it's so near and dear to my heart. Is I served as a student senator when I was at CSI.
And what's Phi Theta Kappa?
Phi Theta Kappa is something you specifically introduced me to, Rick. But it is our honor society. I would say it's kind of the best way to describe it. So it looks for those high achieving students who want to be around other high achieving students. Again, putting people with people that you know and that you're similar with. But Phi Theta Kappa is an international honor society that goes all across the United States, but also across the world. And when I went to the international convention, there was, I can't remember exactly, I think 20 different countries represented there. But it's looking for a 3.25 GPA to start out. And they get together and they do community service projects and serve the campus community as well as the community as a whole. So they look to do a community service project as well, and then a project on the campus. Most recently, they assisted and have assisted with the Falcon Food Pantry. They assisted the Center for New Directions and the Student Life Office to get that up and running. So that was kind of something that we're just in the process of building our Phi Theta Kappa. And so we're really, really excited. Beta Sigma Pi is ours, actually, our Phi Theta Kappa chapter.
And again, COVID has added some complexity to that. Talk for a moment. An important demographic to us would be the Hispanic community and of course Native American community. And what are we doing to welcome that demographic, since it's pretty large in our region, and we would love to have Hispanic students here at a greater level than we've got. What are we doing to entice them?
Well, we hired we moved Effie. We gave our multicultural coordinator, Effie Hernandez, and she really has that focus, which I love. But some things that we've been doing to help, we have a lot of Hispanic students that come, but what we've noticed is you really have to, when we talk about recruiting, look at the family. So we've been converting all of our marketing materials to also include Spanish.
Good.
Because it's not just about the student coming here. It's about having their family feel comfortable here as well. And anybody feel comfortable here. The Native American students, we've had some, I know we did an Indian Taco Day. That was really fun. I know you participated in that.
Yes, it was wonderful.
And Effie did amazing making all of the fry bread. And so that's something we do. We actually have the Native Falcons Club as well that are encouraging and just trying to bring culture to the campus as a whole, right? The thing about higher education is to learn all the way around, right? We're not just here to learn in a classroom. We're here to learn on campus. So encouraging and showing what different cultures do and different celebrations that they might have to celebrate everybody.
So here is a question I just couldn't be more excited to ask you. So you put on your, you look into your crystal ball, and 10th day enrollments are so important. Luckily, we are recording this. So as you look into fall for 10th day, tell us, all of us, the number that you see.
All right. So luckily you did prep me for this one. So here's my number.
Okay.
Attendance. And of course it can't be easy. So I'm going to pick 2,187 students because we really never end on an even number. So I feel like that gives me a better chance.
You wouldn't end on an even number.
No, we can't. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. 2,187. Okay,
that is wonderful. You've driven a stake in the ground, and we've recorded it 2,187 on
and it's right there in text even. So just in case.
It's even come up in text. That's wonderful.
Great. So anyways, admissions, you're listening. You've got some work to do.
Well, they need to make you look good, don't they?
Yeah.
So we always end with our guests giving us 3 principles of leadership. So what are 3 areas that you could provide to us as viewers?
Honestly, I think this is the hardest question for me, because this is more about me.
Yeah.
I really think a leader should listen. Some of the best ideas and best things that we've done have come from other people, and I've just brought it forward. So I really think a leader should listen all the way around. I really think you should lead by example. I've always believed that if I'm not willing to do something, then I can't ask somebody else to be able to do something. So I have to be willing and able to do, or willing to do that as well, or done it in the past, which is something that we've as well. And then, I'm going to kind of go back to, I think you should just be kind and understanding. Everybody's human, makes mistakes, has outside things that happen to them. That's how we like to treat our students, and that's how I think we should treat each other, is be kind and understanding. So I don't know if that's necessarily a leadership principle, but just like a good overall human principle.
No, but it applies. And Hailey, I think you are all of those. So that is just,
thank you.
I think that's a wonderful, a wonderful set of principles to work with. And I know that you lead that way. So for next week, let me just kind of prompt our viewers. Next week, we want to introduce to you our Future Tech building. So you probably can't see this well, but we have a wonderful, essentially, overview of where we are in planning for the Future Tech building. So our architects have done a lot of listening sessions and have talked to the leadership and deans and just a whole variety of individuals here. And it's beginning to form. It's beginning to turn into a real thing. So Anne-Marie Peters and I are going to be able to introduce that to you next week, and we're looking forward to that.
It's a very exciting building. I've seen lots of the fly-throughs and the plans, and I'm so excited to see and start breaking ground on campus when that happens.
I know, and I think one of the things we'll discover next week is everything within that building is student focused. We have really paid a lot of attention to that as this was put together. So Hailey, thank you again for being a guest today.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks for twisting my arm.
Yeah, that wasn't too hard.
Well, I'll make it harder next time.
Yeah, okay, that sounds fair. So I want to wish everybody a wonderful weekend, and we have one more week to go. So thank you for all the work that we've done to have a successful spring semester.
Thanks.